This is the Code, Deploy, Go Live podcast, episode 17 with Julie Turner and Andrew Connell. This episode is available as a video on our YouTube channel, which is linked in the show notes. In this episode, we're going to talk about Microsoft Teams development tools. Microsoft Teams development tools have evolved from originally working with just the Teams JavaScript library and the Teams FX to working with multiple competing SDKs, and it's confusing as heck. Andrew has been spending a lot of time with this, got it all figured out, we think. We'll find out what he has to say for himself in today's episode, recorded live on October 14th, 2025. Hey, Andrew.
How are you doing, Julie?
I'm doing good. Making you full screen there. There we are. We're ready to rock.
That's scary. I don't know if you want me full screen.
Yeah, full screen in the tiny little screen above my monitor.
Oh, there we go. I know. You know what's so funny? So you got the prompter and you have the same one that I have. And did you see what happened last week?
They dropped a new one.
They dropped a new one. It's so much bigger. I mean, it's like the price shows that too. But I mean, it's like so much bigger. I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that because I've decided that this cheap, like $14 mic arm sucks. So I decided to go and buy their mic arm that can boom over the top of my my monitor. So that's coming on Thursday. So for the next episode, I'll actually have a mic arm that comes over and I can like have the mic in the right location instead of sideways across my monitor, which is how it is now, which means I can't actually see all of my monitor. It's super annoying.
It's when you have a nice arm that you can sit there and move it in and around like that. It's like, it's so nice. Have it like off the screen. So I was watching a friend of mine. He did this. I mean, he's like big time, like producer type, not big time. Sorry. That's like, I don't mean big time. He does a lot of that stuff. And so he built out this entire studio in his basement. I mean, like he went over, I don't want to say he went over the top, but he went like crazy. He spent like 40 grand on the whole thing. I was like, that's cool. So then you're kind of looking like, yeah, I mean, it was a, he basically built out his office. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm just curious what you chose and how you chose certain things. And one thing that was interesting because I've been tempted about swapping out my mic for a shotgun mic. So it's sitting above me and I don't have to worry about like always pulling my mic in front of me whenever it's all out of the way. But when he was doing it, he was using like his regular mic and then he switched over to shotgun. I'm like, oh, that totally sounds different and not in a good way. So I was like, all right, interesting. Thank you for removing the temptation.
Yeah. You needed that. So what else have you been up to?
Well,
other than shopping for mics.
No, not shopping. Yeah. I've been a little frantic with work. I think part of it is about what we're going to talk about today. I was a little frustrated in our last episode and it's kind of built into this today. And I tell you what, with work stuff, it's one of two things. I either like do a really bad job or I either I've got things that are just constantly like catching a bad break for different things, or I'm somehow putting myself in a position to be subject to slight changes, do a complete derail of what I'm doing, what my plans are. And I think it's probably the latter. And so when I had this slight curveball thrown at me, yes, it's a lot of work, but I'm teaching a class right now and I'm having to go through and to figure some stuff out on the fly, stuff I've already known. Like I know how to do Teams app dev, but when your tooling changes, when your libraries change, when your SDKs change, when the project templates change, when everything changes at once, it makes it like you're trying to figure and you'll understand why I'm a little frustrated as we get through this episode.
Oh, I kind of already do.
Yeah. So it's like, I mean, I understand it now. And now, of course, when you have 2020 vision on it, or was it hindsight? When I have hindsight, I understand what's going on now, but I even feel more like strongly about it. But anyway, it's just kind of thrown a curveball at me. So yeah, I'm not in a good spot with work right now. I still have to do my slides for my talk that I'm doing at Seeing You on Friday, Collab Days, New England. So they're done. I just want to try and update them. So yeah. Anyway. How about you? How are you, Julie?
Well, I'm doing pretty good. I went last week to New York City, which I hadn't been in a lot of years since I had been to New York City last. So I went to New York City and did the Expert Live conference that was held at the MTC there in Times Square. And it was a good little conference. I mean, it was the first year doing that conference in the US as well. And so the attendee was a little light, but I had several people in my session at 9 a.m. and it was nice, it was really good. And the upside is I took my family, so I took my husband and son with me, and we made a long weekend out of it. And it was really awesome because normally we really struggle with my son. He's very easily bored, wants to just sit in the room and like play on his computer and not like do anything. And he was jazzed to be in New York. Like, I think all the stimulation just was like, he was like in it to win it. And he was like out, and we let him like go out of the hotel by himself one night, and he's got Apple Pay on his phone. So he wanted to walk to the convenience store to get like some candy and come back. And
yeah.
My husband and I had gone to dinner at like the restaurant next door, and he's like, can I go get, whatever. And we're like, all right. And he would like did it all himself. And he was so jazzed. It was a really growing up experience for him. So it was fun, because he didn't complain the whole time, and we didn't have to like threaten to like take away his gaming. So we had a really, really nice weekend. We took the train down, the Acela Express, got to ride the new Acela trains, which are super improved. It was lovely. So yeah, great long weekend. I'm tired, and we have Collab Days New England this week, and I head off to Burlington tomorrow morning, bright and early. So a little tired for the back-to-back, but it was worth it. It was a great family weekend. So that's pretty much all going on in my life.
It's funny you say that about the trains, because I was with the government shutdown in the United States, and you kind of see like stuff with like air travel. They're talking about like it's just getting delays are getting worse and stuff. So I started getting a little bit of anxiety. Like, am I going to get messed up flying up to Boston?
Yep.
And you're saying yep, like you think I am.
I'm in a totally. If I were flying, I'd be nervous about it. Like, okay. I don't know.
So you don't know anything. You're just like, I don't blame you for being nervous.
No. Okay. I just mean like, I know what you're saying. I've heard the same rumors, and I'd be nervous trying to get into. I expect people to have issues, and
So I looked at it. I was like, do I have any other options? Of course, my wife looked at me and she's like, you're not driving up there. All right. And I'm like, that's a 17-hour drive, not to mention like breaks, charging because I have an electric car. Yeah. Obviously staying over because I'm not doing 17 hours at once. So I looked at options, and I did see that there is a train. So for those of you who are outside of the U.S. Or at least outside of the tri-state area in the U.S. in the northeast of the United States, so like where Julie is, taking a train from Boston down to New York City, reliable. Where I am, there's no such thing as mass transit. So I mean there is, but it's like few and far between. I can get on a train on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and I can show up at around 4:30 p.m. on Thursday with only one stopover in Washington, D.C. And I looked at it and I was like, and the ticket's pretty cheap. And I'm like, I won't need a hotel because I can get like one of those little cabins, and about the price that I would pay for the cabin overnight to do that, like it's about what a flight would be. I'm like, I could have worked the whole time. I'm like, Yeah. I was like, wait a minute. That's 24 hours to get there and 24 hours to get back. I'm like, I don't know.
Probably not. I think you'll make it. I think you might be delayed a little bit here or there, but it's probably not going to be worth trying to like do the whole. We actually just talked about it because we took the Acela train down. The train is Boston to DC. That's the Acela train for the, so New York City is a stop. And we talked about it like, maybe, this went so well. Should we go to DC the next time? And we looked at it, it's 9 hours. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
As a family thing like that, it's like, no, but if you were solo and you were going down there for like a conference, I'm like, I wonder, I don't know, is that something that would be, no? Okay.
No, because the plane is, unless it's like, all hell is breaking loose. I can't see why I wouldn't want to do just the 2-hour plane journey. Like that's pretty easy. So anyway, that's just my view.
I have one big reason why not. People.
No, well, not worth 9 extra hours. I can handle 2 hours and then like get away from them versus 9 of sitting next to somebody. Because keep in mind, you're on the train. There's people on the train. Like the train is packed in both directions. True. We had a table for 4 and there's 3 of us. So I was thinking, oh, nobody will probably pick the 4th spot. Oh yeah, both times. So not so much.
Oh, well. Okay. Well, at any rate, I doubt I'm going to end up doing that this week. I hope I see you. And if I don't see you, it's not because I couldn't get on the train. It's probably because I was like, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. So I'm looking forward to it.
All good. All right. Well, should we get into today's discussion?
Why not? That's why we do this, right?
Yep. Well, let's do it.
It's not just for the picks.
All right, Andrew, what do you have to say for yourself? I hope it's something good because I don't have a clue what's going on here. I don't do a lot with Teams dev, but I listened to you complain about it, so I'm sure it sounds horrible. So fill us in.
Well, okay, so it's not okay. So right now, let's first kind of look back at like where things were, because I mean, you've done Teams development with me, and the story actually isn't bad. Like if I take a step back and I cool off, which I didn't do last time we did our podcast, it was still pretty raw. I took a step back and I looked at it and just tried to understand better what's going on. And I had more conversations with Microsoft about it. And I think I have a better idea of what's going on now. I'm just going to tell you that heads up, or at least as a bit of a spoiler at the beginning of it, they're doing a really bad job of communication. It is, I know this is going to shock you if you've never heard this before, but they had a really, in my opinion, they had a one of the worst naming decisions that Microsoft has made, that has caused a ton of confusion and is like the root of the majority of the issues. There's that, and then there's also a little bit of like sprinkle a little bit of people like shipping the org chart and not talking to each other, and rushing announcements out because AI is going on. We have to rush more AI announcements out, and we have to be on the AI announcement bandwagon with the rest of the industry. All of that has kind of played a factor in this. So with all that being said, for those people who haven't done anything with Teams development, let me kind of explain, not like a huge history lesson, but let me just give you a little abbreviated one. And you'll be familiar with this because you've been through, you've done Teams stuff with me before. So when you build stuff for Microsoft Teams, right, you're building web apps. You're either building a website, like a single page app is traditionally what you'd end up doing, but it's really either a website or you're building a web service. And Teams allows you to build a couple different things. Tabs. So all a tab is in Teams is, I'm sure everybody's used Teams who's listening to this. And if you haven't, well, surprised you're listening to us. But if you've used tabs in Teams, all that is the contents of the tab is just a borderless iframe that's pointing to another web page, where that lives somewhere. So when you actually deploy a tab, you're just giving a JSON file to Microsoft and saying, hey, this is the app. Here's the ID of the app, the name, the description, icons, whatever. And by the way, here's all the stuff that you have inside of you as an app. One of those is a tab. That tab, you're going to use this URL to go load it, which is a site that you host. So that's one thing. The other kinds of things you can build are bots or message extensions. And the message extensions leverage the bot infrastructure. But effectively what it is that Teams, when you send a message to a bot, Teams sends it, skipping a lot of things, ultimately down to a web service that you host, and then you respond, and that message goes again back through all those things to make it back to the person who actually submitted the message or the channel or whatever. Message extensions work the same way. So to build these things, Microsoft has given us tools. We had this thing called the Teams Toolkit, which is an extension for Visual Studio Code with a bunch of project templates. And then they gave us it's really kind of boils down to 2 buckets, but it's really a lot of little things. So I'm just going to keep it on the bucket size. So one of them is they give you a JavaScript API that is intended to only run from the client, from the browser. And it's what you use in a tab application to talk to the Teams client. So effectively what it does is I can, when my tab loads, I load the JavaScript client for Teams. It's called Teams JS. And that allows me to get things like a context. So what channel am I in, who the current user is, what team am I in, stuff like that. And then it also allows me to get things like a single sign-on token, something, and all that stuff.
Yeah, and this is the same thing that's used with SharePoint Framework. Like it's built into the SharePoint Framework, the Teams JS library.
Correct. That's correct. Yes. So if you use a web part, create a SharePoint Framework web part, and you want to deploy it as a tab, it will. Yep. That's how it gets access to it.
Yeah, it's just so people see the correlation. Those two things are very synonymous. Yep.
Yeah. So the other side is that we get this collection of NPM packages called Teams FX. So it's like stands for like Teams Framework, but it's Teams FX, and that's a collection of multiple JavaScript and TypeScript packages. And we use it for stuff like server side and client side. So server side being Node, client side. There's like there's a Teams FX-React, which contains some hooks that are specific to React. Sorry, there's React. It contains React hooks that are specific to Teams. We've got stuff for doing stuff server side, like for having some special packages and libraries that are built that extend the bot framework for doing bots using the bot framework, but having the Teams like special sauce on top of it that Teams leverages the bot framework and the bot service for messaging, but then there's some team specific stuff like launching a dialogue or something like that. So that's what we've used for many years. All right. Now, after ChatGPT came out, so you're familiar with all of that stuff, and you're familiar with this next one too, I would think. In September of 2023, Microsoft released a library called Teams AI Library, and the intention of that library was instead of where if we wanted to build a bot and that chat bot would be used for responding to what people ask, as a developer, I would have to look for the user to say specific things in that bot, and then I would react to it. So if they wanted to ask what the time was, I would expect them to say like /time. I couldn't say like, hey, what time is it today? And be able to understand that they're actually asking the time unless I'm looking for the string time and have context over, I did it one time. And it's like, they're not asking for the time when I said that. So we either have to write with code, like very imperative code that's very specific. And then later we try to use a little bit of like machine learning and AI and like lightweight AI using a service called language services. I think what it was. It was a product from Microsoft called Lewis.
Lewis, yeah. I was just going to say Lewis. That's what it was.
I blanked on what the second word was, but it stands, Lewis is the acronym for language understanding. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know.
So we could use Lewis to do a little bit of natural language parsing to kind of help with a little bit of that. Well, when ChatGPT came out and it basically made everyone well aware of large language models, which do a really good job of understanding language, Microsoft released the Teams AI Library v1 that we could use in addition to all the other stuff. And we would use it only in the case of a chatbot. And what it would do is it helped us create a prompt so that when the user would submit a message to my chatbot, the Teams AI library would take that prompt. It would let me define a system prompt, so some instructions, and I'll provide additional like skills to the language model. We define those we call those functions. And then it would take the user prompt and send it over to the language model and ask the language model to give me back a structure that says, tell me what to do. So it's kind of like the precursor to like Copilot, if you think about it.
Sure, yeah.
Or the precursor to really any of those chatbots. And it was pretty useful and it did a lot of stuff for us. Okay. Well, as things progressed, Microsoft, of course, was going crazy and still is on the whole AI bandwagon. And now let me kind of catch you up a little bit over the last 12 months and what happened recently that's really caused a lot of confusion. So at Ignite last year, so in November of 2024, they teased up this thing called the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK. Mm-hmm. And they didn't give you much detail at all about it. They just basically said the Microsoft 365 Agents SDK is the thing that it's going to be seen as the new version of the bot framework. So we had bot framework v4. You think of the M365 Agents SDK as bot framework v5.
Okay.
Okay, exactly. I was like, okay, we'll see. Let's see what happens. So then at the Build conference this year, so May of 2025, they GA'd the M365 Agents SDK, and they say, hey, it's like the replacement bot framework. So in your head, you're thinking, if I'm doing tabs, no change, cool.
Sure.
If I'm doing bots or message extensions, I used to use the bot framework. But now you're saying that the M365 Agents SDK is like bot framework v5. Okay, sounds like I should use this instead. And it's got the word agents in it. So that means chatbot with AI or chatbot with LLM. So I'm like, so replacing the Teams AI library kind of makes sense, right?
Yeah, I would think. Why would you need it?
Okay. So a couple weeks before Build, like 2 weeks before Build, we had the M365 community conference in Las Vegas in May of 2025. And on the first day of that conference, the Microsoft announces, or what I perceived as some rogue team came out and said, hey, guess what? We're doing the Teams AI Library v2, and here's a preview of it. And we're like, we knew that the M365 Agents SDK was coming. We knew it was announced. We expected to hear about it at Build because it was teased up at Ignite. 2 weeks later, we did hear about it. We did see it. But when I start digging into the Teams AI Library v2, I'm looking at this and I'm like, I see a bunch of stuff that's like, you got your head cocked. Like when a dog hears a weird noise and it just like, they cock their head like, what was that?
Yeah.
So a couple things I saw. Number one, if you think it's like Teams AI Library v2, you think it's better than v1.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what they did is they essentially built out, they said it's not the Teams AI Library v2, it's the Teams AI SDK. Not library, SDK. And they went to great pains to explain why an SDK. And you're like,
huh?
It's semantics right now, guys.
Yeah, what's the hell's the difference?
Right. So I think of the same thing. Well, what's the difference is they have their own CLI and they have all this other stuff about creating a brand new project using all of these new packages and everything that they've created to create Teams apps. And so a bunch of us are like, hold on a sec. What about the Teams Toolkit and all the templates and stuff that we've been using for that? Why are you guys building something completely different? Like, why are you doing this complete reset on people? And then it got even more hairy 2 weeks later when at Build, they do the whole M365 Agents SDK announcement, but then they also go through and they release the Teams Toolkit as a brand new thing. Really, it's just a marketing term. It's now the M365 Agents Toolkit. So now we have a toolkit that we use as our dev tools that we use in VS Code. And we have the M365 Agents SDK, which is a bunch of libraries and a bunch of packages and libraries that we can use to build stuff that we used to bot framework for. And then the Teams AI library guys look like they're going off and doing their own thing now. And it's like, what the hell? And they're like, oh, well, hey, look, we have a command that you can go through and add all the stuff for the toolkit. So make sure your projects work over here. I'm like, but why do I don't need this.
It sounds like because of at first blush from the outside, it sounds like they decided that they had to rename it from Teams Toolkit to Agents Toolkit. And then like Teams people were mad about it. So they're like, let me just go create something so we have something branded Teams still. That's what it sounds like. I'm not implying that's what it is. You're going to tell me what it is, hopefully. But that's what it sounds like.
That's what I thought it sounded like too, and why I used the term earlier, saying it looks like some team just went rogue and did their own thing.
Sure, yeah.
And I talked to people at Microsoft, and they had a similar opinion of it because a lot of people at Microsoft at the conference in May that we were at in Las Vegas, I asked them about it, and they're like, we didn't know anything about this. We had no idea that they were working on this or that they even announced it. And I was like,
okay,
these guys just go rogue? I mean, I'm sorry, but this is like in the age of Microsoft firing people left and right. I'm like, is it the fact that somebody had to put AI in something they were working on? So we have to, hey, to be relevant so we don't get fired, we have to go through and throw AI in the name.
Yeah.
And I'm being a little like flippant there, but not too flippant. I mean,
that's what it sounds like. I mean.
Okay. So that now we have these two different things. And then here's the thing that threw the curveball. So it looked like I had a choice, I guess is what I'm trying to get to. It looked like I had a choice. I still have this Teams JavaScript library that I use in the client, right? That SharePoint framework has. I still have Teams FX and those React hooks, and I have some other stuff I use as well for doing server-side stuff with Teams. And now I get this new thing that's replacing the bot framework, but it looks like that's what my toolbox is going to have in it. But then what's this Teams AI library thing that does all this stuff? You guys still do the AI piece to it, but isn't the Agents Toolkit or the Agents SDK supposed to do that for me?
Sure, yeah.
It's super confusing. And then the part that really, I'll get to the punchline, but the part that really, like, frankly, pissed me off was I get ready to start teaching a new instance of my Teams Accelerator, like as a 2-month class where we meet once a week and we do something new each week. The Thursday before I started doing that, there was a new version of the Agents Toolkit that shipped, 6.2, and when that shipped, it had a completely different like menuing options when you chose to create a new Teams app. And part of those menuing options is they got away with all of the old project templates we used to use.
Right.
And they have all these new templates, and all those new templates use the Teams AI library stuff. Completely different. But if you go...
Teams AI library V1 or V2?
Replaced everything.
Okay.
I'm talking tabs, message extensions, bots, everything, agents. But there's a part in the menu where at the very beginning we say I want to build an app for Teams, and you get a couple options right off the bat. And it says like, do you want to build... Here, what are the options? I have a screenshot of it. The options are, do you want to build a declarative agent? I know what that is. Okay. Familiar. We had that before.
Yeah.
Do you want to build a custom engine agent? I know what that is. Okay. We used to use the Teams AI library to do that. A Copilot connector. We used to call them graph connectors.
Sure.
Code. That's really just code because it really isn't anything to do with any of this stuff because we're just talking the REST API.
Right. Yeah.
Office add-ins. So the 7 people that do that are, they're so happy. And then the other thing that you have is Teams agents and apps. It's like, okay, if you choose Teams agents and apps, you get the Teams AI library, and that's all your project templates focus on that. But if you go over and choose custom engine agents, which used to use the Teams AI library V1, now they use the M365 Agents SDK. So you're like,
wait, what?
So I still have 2 different options now. I'm like, what the hell? So because the project SDKs, because all the libraries and dependencies and all that stuff changed, every single one of my demos broke because if somebody would go to trying, well, not just broke, but every single one of like the homework that I give my students, if they go like file a new project in VS Code,
they don't have
none
any
of my steps are going to work because they expect something else.
Yeah, right.
So that's why I've been frantic. Yeah. So, but since then, and while all of this was going on, like going back months throughout the summer, I've been talking to both the Agents SDK team and the Teams AI library team, or Teams AI V2 team. I've been talking to both of them like, what the hell? Like, how do you guys relate to each other? And neither one of them would talk to each other. They would like talk to me, but they would say like, you need to talk to the other team about what they're doing. I'm like, you guys are shipping the org chart. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
I'll stop for a second to see if you got any other questions about that before I go on.
No, I'm still just like, what's the punchline? Because right now, where we have paused is like, so glad I don't touch Teams. So glad I don't touch Teams. So glad I don't touch Teams. This makes me just want to go build my own thing and then like use the manifest to put it in and call it a winner, which is what I do now. That is my templates right now.
And you can still do that. And you can totally still do that. Okay, so here's what here's what they've done for us. And I do like the result. I don't like how we got here. So the Teams AI, they just call it now Teams AI V2, right? If I expanded the definition, it's actually the Teams AI SDK V2, which is the successor to the Teams AI Library V1. Mm-hmm. When they did this big push in the middle of September 2025 of releasing, the Teams AI SDK V2, it went GA in September, and right when it went GA, they changed all the project templates in the Agents Toolkit. So it was like this huge change. Well, when they did this, and I have a GitHub issue that I went back and forth with a team, and I was getting really, you can tell like there was a lot of spit and vinegar in my typing as I was doing it, because it was just really frustrating to understand what they were doing. That, frankly, and I know we don't curse a lot on here, but I'm going to do it one time. They just chose the shittiest name that they possibly could for what they did, because by choosing, they literally said in that issue, they said, we chose the Teams AI library as the name we were going to adopt, and then we modified it and then put V2 on there. So we modified, got rid of library, added SDK, and put V2 on there instead of V1, because we already had it and it just made sense. Like, except for the fact that
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The Teams AI V2 SDK is a replacement for Teams FX, all of it. And it includes the stuff that we used to use the Teams AI Library V1 for. So, for example, if you want to build tabs, you do use the Teams AI V2. Why? Because it has stuff in there for building tabs. And frankly, if you compare it to the code we used to write for other stuff, there's a lot less code you have to write. And it's a lot easier to build these things. You have a lot more access to the bare metal in a way the app works. With bots, they did a lot of stuff to replace things that we used to do with the bot framework that required a lot of code and a lot of the cognitive load. I'm trying to the mental model to keep in mind of like how all this stuff works. They greatly simplified it. It's much easier than what we used to do with bots. Bots are so much easier to build and to work with these days. Message extensions, so much easier, right? By using the Teams AI SDK. The problem is that by choosing the old name and bringing it forward, they imply that we use this thing for the same stuff the other thing was, and not that it's really just, they should drop the AI from the name from it altogether. I know it's Microsoft and they can't get AI out of everything. They got to put it into everything. So it's completely antithetical to what they're doing these days.
Sure.
It really is just the new version of Teams FX. So I just call it either the Teams SDK or call it Teams FX V5, because the last version was V4. Period, full stop, da-da-da. Go home, tell your mom, we're good.
Well, that now makes a hell of a lot more sense. Tons more sense. It's just a bad name.
It's a terrible name.
If they had named it the same thing, Teams FX V5, it could have had all the extra new stuff in it. And everybody would have gone, oh, all right.
Right? Like you have the SharePoint framework. What do you use that for? Build solutions on top of what?
SharePoint.
Oh my God, you're brilliant. This is why I like doing podcasts with you. You're just so freaking smart. If it was the Teams FX, it was a framework for building Teams apps. And so what would you use the Teams FX for? For building apps for
Teams.
God, I love you. You're great. I was like, what the hell, guys? This name is terrible. So, I gave them a crap ton of grief about the name. I'm like, this was so stupid. This name that you chose, I think I used the term, it was so stupid, because you guys have shot your foot off so badly just to sit there and to have AI in the name, and you've made it so confusing for everybody. Now that I understand it, now that I've come around the corner and I can actually see to the horizon, I start using it, like going, oh, now I understand what this is for. And I go look and going, oh, hey, look, it just happened to be, they buried it. They never made an announcement for it. But the Teams FX, it got deprecated at the same time. And it's going away in July of 2026. And I'm like, okay, now all this makes sense. Now I've got it. The thing that is still unclear, that is still like shipping the org chart, frustrating, blah, 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 is so what's up with the Agents SDK?
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Like, so if I want to create a bot, a Teams messaging thing that has large language understanding, where am I going?
Okay. So, and this is why, again, it's why I like working with you, because you're just so smart. You ask the right questions. All right. So here's how it works. So, when you create a bot, an agent, whatever, I don't care what library you're using, all of this uses something called the bot service from Microsoft.
Yes. Yep.
The bot framework was just an SDK for talking to the bot framework.
Bot service.
It's how Power Automate works. That's how all of its bot infrastructure or messaging infrastructure, it leverages this behind the scenes. That's how Copilot works. When you build custom Copilots, custom like agents, same thing. They're doing the same thing. Okay. When you use the bot service, it's technically the Azure AI bot service, but AI means nothing in this context because it does nothing with AI. It can be used for AI, but anyway.
Right.
When you use the Azure AI bot service, the way you use is that you have a registration that you create for your bot that's tied to an Intra ID application. So that's how we handle authentication.
I still say that should work with managed identity, but
it does.
We're dropping that. Oh, well, we couldn't get it to work when you and I were working on it.
So you're right, but it changed after you and I were working on it to where it doesn't work with managed identity. It's user assigned or user defined managed identity.
I know what you're. Yep, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah, you create a user assigned managed identity, and then you give that access to the bot. To the bot service. Yeah.
So that works now. Yeah. So you don't have like any real authentication stuff. Yeah. So that's possible.
No client secrets and no certificates. That's what we want all the time.
Only in development. When you get into production, because we can't.
Yes. I meant for production. Sorry. My bad.
So the other thing that we have, the other thing the other thing the bot service does, or what the bot service does is that you have that bot registration. So Teams, when you send a message to a bot, Teams sends the message to the bot service for your bot. It knows the bot because the Teams app uses the same Intra ID app that the bot service, the bot registration does in the bot service. He used the same app, so that's how Teams finds it, and then in that registration, it has a URL that says, here's where the web service is that is implementing the bot. So it basically is just like a router. It's just like the telephone switchboard person.
Sure.
So when you use the way that the bot service works is that it has a concept of these things called channels, not Teams channels. But these channels are different ways that things can talk to the bot service. And they include Teams is one of them. Copilot's actually one of them, but Copilot actually just is treated like Teams under the cover. So there's no separate Copilot one. It's just when you do Teams, you're doing Copilot. But you have other ones like Twilio for SMS. You've got web chat. You've got, I think, Facebook Messenger, Slack, stuff like that. All right.
Yep.
So I had to explain that one because how do I figure out which one of these things I'm going to use? If you are going to build a bot for Microsoft today, on the Microsoft platform today, a chat bot, you're going to use more than Teams, you should use the M365 Agents SDK because it is designed to work with multiple channels to talk to the bot service.
All right, I see where this is going.
The Teams AI V2
SDK V2.
Yeah. I'm trying to call it the name that they call it, which is the Teams AI SDK. I really want to call it the Teams SDK V2, but whatever. I have a little thing about that too, about the naming in just a second. So it may change. If you are going to build a bot that you know is only going to be used in Teams, or if you're going to build anything else for Teams, a tab, a message extension, a meeting extension, et cetera. If you're gonna build any of that stuff, use the Teams AI V2 SDK because it does all that stuff. So then my question to them was, so if I'm building a bot, why would I use the Teams AI library for this? Why wouldn't I just use the Agents SDK? And they're like, well, because the Agents SDK doesn't have team specific stuff because it focuses on all the channels that understand what a common like language for bots. It's like, so what's the team specific stuff? You know, when you're working with Copilot and you get that thumbs up, thumbs down for feedback?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Or, you know, when you get a generative response and it says AI generated as a label on top of it, or you get like a streaming response. That's stuff that the Teams AI SDK does. That's not stuff that the Agents SDK does. And so I'm like, well, then is the Agents SDK, so how can I go through and start with a bot over the Agents SDK and then start taking advantage of all that other stuff? And they're like, you can't. I'm like, what? Why? I'm like, well, because we haven't gotten that working yet. I'm like, if you want to do that, you can use the Teams AI library V1. Like, what the fuck? Guys. So they're still trying to figure that out.
I had an interesting conversation earlier with some people, and we were talking about the Outlook client, you know, just the
trash.
Well, use it on Mac. Yeah. But there was the classic one where you installed it, and now there's the basically web-based one, and I don't know all the details, but of course, and I'm behind the idea behind it because they wanted the Outlook client, the calendar, to like be portable, right? So Teams calendar looks exactly like the Outlook calendar, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, the point of my comment that I'm about to make is Outlook is so much worse than Outlook used to be. Like the Outlook desktop client was great. It was fine. It didn't need to be changed. Then they built a new one and they took away so much good functionality. The one I hate the most is if you have multiple mailboxes and you like want to reply, somebody sends you an email to the wrong mailbox and you want to reply from a different one so that you can like get them on the right mailbox thread. You can't do that anymore. You used to be able to reply and change where you were going to send it from, and now you can't do that. You have to forward it to the other mailbox, reply, take the thing off. Anyway, just lots of that. There's so many examples of this in Microsoft 365 and in general, and not Azure really, but in Microsoft 365 in general, where there was a perfectly great thing, and then they decided to rebuild it from scratch, essentially, and then they made it much worse than the thing we used to have. But they're like, isn't this so much better? And this scenario, to loop back around, this is exactly the same thing. Look, we have this new agents thing. Isn't it great? But it's not as good as what we had before. Why are you doing that? I don't understand. Don't release something unless it's as good as, if not better than the thing you had before. Like, how is that not 101?
It was that, and it was also, I mean, when they released the Teams AI SDK V2, I even went out there, I was like, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? Where are your samples? Like, we're working on the samples. Like, where are your docs? Is when I go to the docs in Teams on learn.microsoft.com, they're still pointing to Teams FX that's now been deprecated.
Yeah.
Where are your docs? They go, oh, they're on this other website. I'm like, what the hell? Aren't you Microsoft? Yeah. Learn docs, documentation is supposed to be on Learn. You know, we're having trouble getting it over there. That's a you problem, guys. That should hold up your release.
Like, this is not a me problem. That holds up release. Exactly. Holds up release. What the heck?
And the Agents SDK guys are the same way. When they shipped it, I was like going, hey, where the docs go through and figure out like some samples for using the JavaScript SDK? And they're like, we're still working on the JavaScript SDK. Like, you went GA. Like, what the hell? And like, well, we went GA with all of it, but we've only GA'd the docs for, docs are a separate release now? What the fuck? Sorry. But they're like, come on, guys.
F-bomb's appropriate.
It's really gross. It's really frustrating. The docs are still messed up today. I will tell you one thing from this. So I'll give you my recommendations. First I'll tell you one more thing to think about, and then I'll give you like my recommendations. And I have down here on my notes, like, don't forget about your opinion. I think I've given that enough. So in this thread where I went back and forth with the product group that was doing the Teams AI SDK, and when they finally, like when it clicked with me, I'm like, let me get this straight. this is just Teams FX v Next, because they were trying to do semantics over what version number. I'm like, no. Like, you retired that. So your library is now Teams FX v Next. And I get it. They're retiring the React webhooks. And they're like, we're not planning on doing anything with this. So if you need these, just copy the code out of our open source library. I'm like, okay, that's a shitty story, but whatever. Yeah. Like, use Teams. Yeah, that was invented by the community. Victor Whelan, who now works for Microsoft by the time he was in MVP.
Sure.
They got permission from Victor to assume it or to suck it into all of their stuff, which they did. And now they're like, and now we're not going to ship it anymore. So you can just copy back out. And hey, it's open source. You can use it in the community. Like, going, we did that the first time, you jerks.
Yeah. Oh.
So as I went through this whole thing in that thread, and as other people on the thread and the GitHub issues started jumping in and going, oh my God, are you serious? This is all it is? Now I understand it. All of a sudden I got one comment back from the team on there going, we've restarted the renaming debate internally, so no promises or timeline. Like, you don't say. You don't say that's not a bad idea. So we'll see where they go with it. So here's my recommendation. If you're building Teams apps and you're just building Teams apps, you're only interested in Teams apps, use the Teams AI SDK v2 for everything you're doing with Teams. Everything that you're doing with Teams. Tabs, bots, chat bots, message extensions, bots that use AI. Use the Teams AI library, the Teams AI SDK v2 for everything. And I'll have links in the show notes where you can go find that stuff. It actually ships with 3 different SDKs, a TypeScript, a Python, and a .NET SDK. The Agents SDK, you would only use that if you're building a agent that is going to be used by more than teams in like multiple channels. And I'm not even going to...
And you don't care about JavaScript.
Oh, no. It is...
I know. It's a no docs. As when I'm...
Well, it does now. But I hear it. That was back in like over the summer of 2025. So now we're at this point where, and the Agents SDK guys, they have a .NET, a Python, and a JavaScript SDK as well. So we're getting there. Hope we'll see where we have at Ignite. If even stuff gets a little bit better with this too. Now, the one thing I'm just not going to even go into with this, trying to figure this out is, but what about the Azure AI Foundry Agents SDK? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't care because I thought that would have been the thing that should be what the M365 Agents SDK is. And when I post those questions in the discussions on their repo, they're just like silent. The guy that owns it and the girl that works, the woman that the man that is like the main guy for it, and the woman who is like his counterpart, so Sarah and Matt, I don't get any response when I ask about what about the Azure AI Foundry Agents SDK? What do I use that for? Like, agents you build with Foundry. Like, but what? Okay, then what do you do? Like, because I'm using the Azure AI bot service, that's part of Azure AI Foundry. What's up? Whatever. So that's my guidance. That's my recommendation. So you can see where the frustrations come. But now I actually get it. I've been put a bunch of notes, links in the show notes. I have like the links for. I'm putting in the one for Teams FX, for the Agents SDK, the M365 Agents SDK, which is actually a suite of a bunch of packages. So I'll send you the homepage there. The URL for the Teams AI SDK v2 page, that's like an overview page. And at the top, you'll see like TypeScript, .NET, and Python. And you want to click through to one of those to see like real code samples. The rest of it's like going, this is it. But you click through, you get the rest of it. And then I'll put a link to that issue where there's a whole bunch of renaming discussions, everything going on, where I got a little spicy. And then I have an article that I published today that kind of tries to clear it up and make it and explain to it. So today being October 14th. So ta-da, that's it. This is classic, one of those like, holy, like National Lampoon's vacation or Christmas vacation. Like, holy, where's the Tylenol? Hallelujah.
Yeah, well, hey, we've been sort of bitching about this all summer on all the episodes. There's been little side conversations that we've been sort of going, no, and this is screwed up still, and this is confusing still. So at least we are giving people closure today, I think, at least from the perspective of here it is, here's the story, here's what you use, here's where you are today. Of course, it's going to change, but at least we have a story today and we have a path forward.
I don't know if I would call it closure. I think I may want to say I'd say that I've been bitching and moaning for the summer. And I think now I've gotten some therapy. I've gone to the doctor, but we're still dealing with the issue.
Okay. No closure. Got it. Still having issues with your ex. I gotcha. Yeah. All right.
All right. That's everything. I'm off my soapbox. Cool. I swear to God. I'm good.
No, all good. All good. All right. So I think that wraps that. So should we go into doing some pickies?
Let's do some picks.
Picks. All right. You get to go first.
Okay. Cool. So there was this game for a while called Kerbal Space Program. So some people may be familiar with this. It's a geeky little thing. It was an app you got on a game you got on Steam. The idea is that they did a really good job of like simulating rocket science and building your own rockets, and the physics around it were really good. And you could do all kinds of stuff like building rockets, launching them, blowing them up, and it was a lot of fun. It was like basically a space simulator for launching rockets. What's cool is it's got a whole like cult-based following, and you have Kerbals, which are the people, and they like this. You've probably seen a picture of them. If you're at all listening to this and you're a geek, you've probably seen them before. So Kerbal Space Program. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. There is a new game that is coming out, which I'm really excited about, even though I don't really play games. I get excited about them and I watch them, but I don't ever play them. So I don't think I'll ever play this. It's called Re-Entry, and it's a space flight simulator. And it's essentially, these guys have built a simulator for launching and flying rockets from the Mercury program, from Gemini, from the Apollo program. So I'm going to put a link to the trailer for their game that they have up on YouTube. They got a YouTube channel, and you can do an early release, like pre-order for like $35 on Steam and play early releases of the game. But it's got like a lot of stuff to it. So
is it for like a meta headset type of game then? Simulator? No, it's just a Steam game that you play on PC. It's
a Steam game that you play on PC, maybe other platforms.
Well, Steam is a platform, wherever Steam runs. Let me say it that way better.
Yeah. So it's a Steam game, and so you can play it through Steam. But so it looks pretty cool. When I started looking at this, I was like, oh my God, it's so cool. I reached out to CJ and I'm like, oh my God, you got to look at this. And he's like, oh my God. He was also a Kerbal Space Program geek. So
yeah.
Anyway, That's my pick.
Nice.
How about you?
Fun pick.
What you got for us?
So I'm back to food. So the backstory of this is a couple years ago, I found this recipe and I made it for, every year, Simpraxis team, our Simpraxis team, tries to get all together and just do like an offsite day where we like get together in person. It's kind of team building, but it's also like a whole day of like little workshop-y things where we just talk about how business is going and different aspects of the business and whatever. And so we used to try to do it as a destination. And so this one year I made little gift boxes for everybody, and I put these ultra nutty pecan bars in the little gift box. So essentially what they are is, think of like a shortbread cookie with pecans that are all covered in like a brown sugary toffee-like goo, and then sea salt is sprinkled on top, and you make little bars. And so I made these for everybody, and everybody was like, oh my God, these are so good. Okay, meanwhile, my father is like a pecan pie junkie. Like, the man loves pecan pie more than anything. Every time we go out to a restaurant, they'll give him a dessert menu and he will just turn to them and say, do you have pecan pie? Which is like, Dad, if they don't have pecan pie on the menu, they're not going to have pecan pie. But the man loves pecan pie. So at any rate, and not everybody else likes pecan pie. So it's like somebody else's birthday. And he's like, well, did you make a pecan pie? And I was like, no, Dad, there's no pecan pie. So for the last birthday that he had, I'm like, I'll make these pecan bars for my dad. And so I brought them up, And I told my mom, you don't have to make a pecan pie. I made Dad these pecan bars. And so I brought him the pecan bars, and he lost it. He loves them better than pecan pie. So then he texts me, because I made him a whole batch, and he froze them, you know what I mean? And like individual like wrapped bars. And so over the next like month or so, ate all of the bars. And then he texts me, and he's like, with a picture, and he's like, it's my last bar. And I'm like, and I was going up in the next like week or so, and I'm like, I can make you another batch. So I made him another batch, brought him up, so he's getting another batch. My mom just texts me, and she's like, you've created a monster. I need the recipe for the pecan bars because your father needs more pecan bars, and you're not coming up soon. So, and I'll obviously need to print it out because they go to Florida half the year, right? So they need it in Florida. And I had already reached out to the team, because we're doing a team building thing starting tomorrow for the Simpraxis team. And I reached out to the team, and I'm like, do you guys want me to make something sweet for us to have with lunch? And they're like, everybody's like, yes, make those nut bars. So that was like 2 years ago. And so I'm making the nut bars tonight. And I said, you know what? I should find a way. So one of the problems that I've had with sharing recipes is a lot of the recipes I have are behind a firewall. And I just realized that America's Test Kitchen lets me gift a link to a recipe. So the link that we're going to include in the show notes is good for 30 days. So you have 30 days to print the recipe or copy it into some other thing. The link will work. But not for nothing, America's Test Kitchen is the one website subscription that I pay for out of my own pocket every year. I need this subscription to America's Test Kitchen. They've got the best recipes. When I need to find, I'm like, oh, I want a coleslaw recipe, or I want a fried chicken recipe, or I want a chocolate chip cookie recipe, or whatever it is, that's where I go to America's Test Kitchen to get my recipes. So I would suggest people get a subscription if they are into cooking like I am. But at any rate, this will work. Copy it, paste it, print it, whatever. You've got 30 days. And it's very easy recipe, very, very easy recipe. It takes me about 15, 20 minutes to put it together, and then I bake it and it's done. So highly recommend. Absolutely delicious. Super yummy. Make it today.
Okay. It has now been used my little clipper it's now been clipped into Notion. So I'm definitely not losing this. There you go. You guys can't see this. I don't care if you're doing video or audio podcast. You can't see what we're actually looking at on the screen here, but oh my God, these look so good. This looks like a pecan pie, but it looks like bars.
It's better. It's better than a pecan pie because that shortbread crust is buttery. So you get this, it's not so sugary. It's like buttery, caramely, nutty. Do you know what I'm saying? Where pecan pie is like a sugar bomb with like a flaky crust. This is shortbread beats pecan pie. So it's like a totally different vibe. And the sea salt on top, like get yourself some good flake sea salt. Mine comes from Reykjavik. Thank you, Derek, who is listening. Derek Ash Peterson, thank you for the salt from Iceland. So I sprinkle Icelandic sea salt on top. So you get that salty, buttery, nutty, caramely.
God, this looks damn good. I don't cook or like follow recipes very well. I'm good with HelloFresh, but aside from that, I'm not very good. I may give this a shot when both my daughter and my wife
You can do this. This is not hard. I'll give some tips. So it talks about making a foil sling for your pan. So you need a 9x13 metal pan, or you could use glass, but a 9x13 metal pan. And it tells you to make a foil sling. So you take a piece of foil and you make it so it's the size of the inside, but the length of the foil hangs over the side. They tell you to do 2 and go in both directions. You don't need to. You just need it. The long sides of the pan, you need your foil to hang over because that's how you're going to lift it out of the pan after it's done cooking. The other little tip I'll make is, so you make the shortbread stuff that goes in the bottom, and I pat it down. I push it down. I get it in the bottom, and then I push it down with a measuring cup to make it flat. And then you make the syrup. So you mix like light brown sugar and corn syrup and some butter and vanilla together in a pan. You melt it, and then you pour your pecans in, and then you pour that over the crust. When you do that, you're trying to make all the pecans go, flat, and that's not super possible. Like you want to make sure it's all covered, but they're going to be like pointing up kind of weird, and they're not going to be flat. Don't be fussy with it. Just make sure it's covering everything, but don't be fussy with it. Once it's in the oven, they will self-settle. They will level themselves out, and you don't have to worry about it. And then don't forget to put the sea salt out. So when you take it out of the oven, you immediately sprinkle it with flaky sea salt.
Okay.
So it sticks. Yeah.
Got it.
And then you let it cool, and then that sling, and then you use a little knife to go around the edge that you don't have your sling, and then you just lift it up and you set it, and then you cut it with a knife into like 12 big bars, or cut them smaller and you get more. But it's delish. So those are my tips.
I think I'm going to give it a shot. This looks...
You can do it. You can do it.
I can't get it done this week because I got to keep recording demos for class tomorrow, and then I have to teach class tomorrow, and then I got to fly to see you. Hopefully I fly to see you.
I'll save you one.
Not to see you. I see everybody up there, but I get to see you.
I know.
What I mean?
Yes. Well, you'll be in on Friday, and I'll save you one. As long as the horde of Simpraxians don't get to them all first.
Oh my God. Okay, cool. I get there Thursday. Hopefully I get there for the speaker dinner on Thursday night.
Well, yes, hopefully, yes.
We'll try. Okay. Julie.
Alrighty.
Thank you very much. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. See you in a couple days.
I hope to see you in a few days.
All right, sounds good.
Did you like this episode? Please like and share it with your friends. We are on YouTube, Blue Sky, and LinkedIn. All the links are in the video description. If you have a question, head to codedeploygo.live where you can send it in. Also, sign up for our mailing list on our site at codedeploygo.live to learn about future episodes, opportunities for listeners, and get the show notes from each episode sent straight to your inbox. We'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.